You ready?
Here we go. First episode of 2024.
Woo woo! Living life in full bloom. Welcome to our podcast where we look for opportunities in our lives to see a beautiful view. I'm Candy.
And I'm Paul. Thank you for joining us today, this first episode of 2024.
Yeah, we would like to invite you to join the Beautiful View Patreon channel. The support of our patrons really means so much to us.
When you join our Patreon channel, we will send you a Beautiful View sticker. We'll give you a shout out on the show, and every Monday morning you will receive a weekly newsletter with insider information and encouragement for your week. And we also give our patrons the opportunity to access content before anyone else. Right now we have the full video of Tyler and Kelsey, the Hopeful Few, performing I'll Go Anywhere With You at River Ridge Brewing back in the fall.
Yeah, you know, they do such a great job with their live performance. That made that whole thing just so easy to edit, and it sounds so great. It just turned out awesome.
Yeah, they really have great voices, not just in the studio, but like in front of a crowd at River Ridge. I mean, I was amazed at how the recording turned out.
Yeah, they did really good. And if you're in Texas over the winter, they're doing shows all across Texas. So check out their social media page and
their website.
And find out where they're playing and go check them out.
Yes. It's a good time for sure.
Yeah, and so for our Patreon channel, memberships are only $5 a month.
Uh-huh.
Your support helps cover our production costs, and you can find that link in our show notes.
Yes, so go click on that. We look forward to sharing with you today, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the beautiful view.
We could climb a mighty mountain, float on down a winding river, travel back in time and face our future too. Oh, I'm not scared of where I'm going, 'cause I know whose hands I'm holding. Oh, I'd go anywhere as long as you're going to. Well, I'd go anywhere as long as I'm with you.
Happy New Year, everyone. We hope you all had a fun and safe holiday season.
Today, we are going to do the reveal of our family's 2024 Word of the Year. Okay, not yet, though. It's always an exciting time when I reveal our new word each year. I'm sure at some point the kids will choose their own words, but I am so excited about how appropriate this word is for everyone in our house this year.
Yes, we're going to talk a little about how and why you chose this word and what it means to us for the year. It always takes me a few weeks before I can get to where you are with adopting the word.
I know that's true. We'll also share how we celebrated the new year and what our hopes and potential plans are for the coming year.
Of course, our plans are always set in jello, but it's fun to think about the possibilities.
Let's start with our New Year's celebration. It was a little different this year because both of the kids were working until 8 and 9 p.m. On New Year's Eve, so we kept things very low-key. We didn't do all of the things that we normally do, our countdown or anything like that, because I had worked earlier in the day too, and we were all exhausted.
Now, Emily usually comes home from work with all the words.
Oh, yeah.
Very excited to share about her day, so there was that part of it. But of course, they were both tired. And so it was just a different kind of feel to our new year together.
It was. We do have a couple of traditions, though, that we didn't want to miss out on.
It's always fun to go through our list of questions each year. Our favorites from the year, things we did, things we ate, wore, read, watched, listened to. And then we tell the things we loved about this year, things we're thankful for, and then finally the things we want to do in the new year.
Yeah, I love this little tradition. After we go through and answer the questions for this year, we always go back and read our answers from the previous year. And sometimes those are really funny.
Yeah, they can be.
This year, though, Tyler suggested that we go way back and see what everyone's answers were when we very first started doing this little questionnaire back in 2012.
Yeah.
And so picture this. Tyler had just turned 4 years old.
Yeah, he's a little guy.
And Emily was an 8-year-old little diva back in 2012. Oh, my.
Diva?
She was a diva. So you can imagine the fun answers. I remember Emily, one of the funniest things that we laughed about, and it's funny because the story is even deeper than what it said on the questionnaire, but her favorite thing that she did that year was to receive the Jewel Sparkles La La Loopsy doll. And that was super funny because the year that she requested the Jewel Sparkles La La Loopsy doll was the year that it was non-existent. Like it was a limited edition the year before.
Yep.
So I found finally and paid way too much for
I remember that.
one on eBay. And Santa delivered, thank goodness. But that was one
Santa.
of those things that I was like, are you kidding me?
Of all the things.
Of all the things.
Yeah, and Tyler was in his Cars phase. So he was watching Cars on YouTube, the movies on DVD over and over and over again. So everything was about cars.
He loved to watch where the guys like unwrapped a new car on the little, and we're talking about the Disney cars and the little, what do you call them, little model cars?
The little die-cast metal cars. And
people videoed themselves opening the boxes or the packaging and stuff. And he loved to do that. And we actually, I think you recorded one of him.
Yes, I did.
Unboxing at some point.
Yeah, I recorded a little video of him. I gave him a new car in the package with the plastic bubbles sort of formed wrap over the top of it. So it was all the crinkling. And he was very excited. And so I gave it to him and he unwrapped it and made his own little YouTube video of him unwrapping a car.
He was so excited.
He really was. Goodness. And of course, each new year, you reveal our word of the year to the family.
Yes. And we talked a little bit about this in a previous episode, but I usually start praying about our word in early December. And sometimes I have it early in the month, and other times it comes down to the last few days of the year before I actually know what our word is.
Yep.
But this one actually came to me pretty early on. So our word for the year for 2024 is bloom.
Bloom. Yes, that's the word.
Bloom. So let's talk reactions before we get into the meaning and thought behind why I actually chose that word. What was your initial reaction to blooming in 2024?
Well, like last year, and by last year I mean the year before last, I guess.
Yeah.
It was surprise. So the word for 2023 was joy.
Yes.
And so as we mentioned before in the last episode, when I first heard the word joy, I'm like, well, that's very Christmassy.
Yeah.
You know, like it's time to take the tree down. And
I don't have to have joy anymore.
I don't like that's just a Christmas thing, right? And but as the year went on, that definitely was very obvious why it was the word for the year, and it wasn't just a Christmas thing.
Right.
So when I heard this year's word, bloom, the first thought I had was, well, I guess I'm going to give up guessing what the word is beforehand. Because it was another surprise again. Okay. I'm like, I would have never come up with that.
Okay. And the kids' reactions, Emily was very excited about the word. She could envision it from the moment it came out of my mouth. She had all of these ideas, and she actually said that the word that she had on her mind that she thought I might go for was growth. And so in her mind, bloom is even a more kind of fancy word of growth.
Well, it's like growth with flowers.
Yeah, with flowers. It's beautiful. So she was really excited about it. So, and I know that she has a lot of things that she's trying to figure out this year.
Yes.
So I fully see her like hanging on that word. So I love that.
Yeah.
Tyler, he's not quite sure yet.
Yeah, just like me, right?
How bloom kind of fits in his year, but there are plenty of areas that I can see him growing and blooming this year. I mean, He's got so many new things on his plate, and he's doing so many different things. I see a lot of blooming in his future this year.
So I know we've talked about it, but can you share some of your thoughts and maybe like the process behind how you chose this word for this year?
Sure. So at the end of the year, I always evaluate how our previous word of the year played out. So for 2023, our word was joy, as we said before.
Uh-huh. We learned a lot about the meaning and application of joy last year.
That is for sure. We talked a lot about that on our last episode. And I think we finished out the year with more joy than we started with.
Mm-hmm.
So I started asking myself, what went well in 2023? And how can we kind of keep that train rolling in 2024?
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of growth that happened in 2023 for each of us. So I kind of wanted something that was a continuation or like a next step of that. So I came up with a short list of words that spoke to me. So words like persistence, endurance, become, grow, which eventually led to bloom.
Yeah, I think each year I'm expecting sort of a standard motivational word, so like persistence and endurance really falls into that category, which is why a word like joy or bloom really catches me off guard.
Right. And you know what? And just to kind of like break that down on why I didn't choose one of those words is because to me, both of those words kind of have a little bit of a negative feel to them. Like persist or endure, those kinds of things. Like to me, that feels hard and heavy.
It does.
So I don't ever want our word of the year to feel hard or heavy.
To imply what the year could be like. Like it's
Right.
going to be like if persistence and endurance implies that the year might be difficult.
Right. Yeah. So that's my kind of thought process on that. So yes, so I start out with words like, persistence and endurance. And then that led to what about become? Maybe we could become, but that also kind of like that puts pressure on my heart a little bit.
Right,
so
right.
then I like grow, but grow just seems too plain.
Yeah.
So then bloom happened. And that made me excited. As soon as I thought of bloom, I was like, yes, that's it.
Well, if you went with grow, then Tyler would be...
oh my gosh, he'd be 7 foot tall.
which he may end up 7 foot tall anyway.
But anyway, so that's kind of the process on how I come up with the word. So, but I also came up with an inspiration board of sorts to kind of show my thought process so that I could better explain it to y'all.
Yes.
And we'll share a copy of that on our social media accounts for anyone interested in seeing the inside of my brain.
Well, like your brain, the mood board that you put together really is well organized. Everything is in sections. So it's easy to grasp your thought process. And I love how you included scripture to back up why the word is what it is. And also to kind of, it showed that you used or you read scripture and really absorbed it and allowed it to influence the way that word came to be.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? If we're honest, you and I have had what we describe as like itchy feet this past year.
Haven't we just?
We miss the road so much.
Yes, we do.
I had a really hard time not going home to Texas for Christmas this year. Both my little brother and my brother-in-law, they were both off of work on Christmas Day for the first time in forever.
Yeah.
So all the family was together except for us. Tear. And sometimes it's really hard to be so far away from our family.
Yeah, it really has been hard for us to keep these itchy feet in one place. But here's the deal. We truly believe that God has called us to this little town of Bellevue, Iowa. He led us here over the course of a few years, and he provided a house just at the perfect time. And this community has just been so good to us and welcoming.
Absolutely. They sure have. We truly love it here. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a little wanderlust on occasion.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of factors that have us planted here for a while. Emily is a young adult and trying to figure out all the things that go along with that. Tyler is attending public school and absolutely loving all the new experiences. He's a freshman this year, so that holds us here at least until he graduates high school. And, honestly, money is a factor. It's very expensive to keep a truck and RV on the road while also paying a mortgage and all that goes along with that.
Yeah, the truck and RV really, just like everything else, gradually deteriorate.
It does.
So
Yep.
although the RV is not on the road and traveling as much as it used to, even just sitting in the backyard,
It's hard on it.
It just
the weather changes, the cold
dramatically.
winters here and the hot, humid summers.
Yeah,
takes
so
its toll.
there's constantly things that need to be done on both of those, even just to keep them in one place and keep them in working order.
Mm-hmm.
So your thought was, if God has planted us here, we should bloom where we're planted?
Exactly. And I'm not saying we can't still dream about what we'll do someday, but the dreaming can't interfere with what we're supposed to be doing now.
Yeah.
I want us to embrace living in full bloom, whatever that means for each of us. To me, living your life in full bloom means that you're embracing all that God called you to be, every unique part of you. It means living a life full of passion, creativity, joy, faith, grace, growth, gratitude, and imagination.
I think to me, the word bloom means there's going to be an opportunity to see results this year. And that's exciting.
Yeah.
It means that the struggles that we've had will be worth it.
Yeah.
I know that with the benefit of hindsight, every time when we were living full time on the road, every time we had something happen that was to most people would be a negative, at least. To some people might even put them off from living full time on the road. But whenever we had something happen, like the truck breakdown, or whatever it might be, change of plans of any description, with the benefit of hindsight, we could look back and say, that was exactly what was supposed to happen. If that hadn't happened, then this wouldn't have happened.
We wouldn't have met this person,
Right.
or we wouldn't have had this opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I know that with the benefit of hindsight, that maybe this year the word bloom will mean that we'll see results that will help us contextualize some of the negative or difficult things that we've had to go through in this past year.
Yeah, I like that. When you think of the word bloom, you immediately think of a flower, right? It starts out as a seed or a bulb, right? And then it sprouts from the ground and you get leaves, and then you grow the stem, and then eventually you end up with a bud. And then the bud opens up into a bloom.
Yes.
It goes through this whole process. And when the bloom opens up, it offers its pollen to things such as bees and butterflies and other pollinators, who then take a little bit of that pollen and pass it along to pollinate other plants, which helps them grow. And that visual created a mental picture for me. If we are blooms and we share something that benefits others, whether that be encouragement or inspiration or love, joy, peace, acceptance, any of those kinds of things, then others will take a little bit of what we offer, our pollen, so to say, and offer and extend those things to other people, which then benefits their growth and the growth of those they share with.
So really we're talking about influence.
Yes.
Right? To influence others toward good things.
Absolutely.
And as we try and bring those positive things into our lives, then hopefully that will rub off on other people, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yes, and I love that recording this podcast is giving us an opportunity to explore the meaning of our word right at the beginning of this new year.
That might have been intentional.
Well done, Candy.
Thank you.
It's giving us a way to absorb the word and help me to get on the same page as you. And I'm sure that as the year progresses, Tyler will join me in truly appreciating the word in the way that you do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a process.
It is a process.
And I understand the process, which is why it makes this such a great exercise.
As we've seen this past year with the word joy, when we've had particular circumstances arise in our lives, we've seen how the application of that word was really helpful.
Yeah.
And so this year, I'm sure we will get to see how blooming is going to help us through circumstances that will arise this year.
Absolutely. And I mean, I have put a lot of thought into this. So, to have healthy blooms, right?
Yes.
There are a few things that we have to weed out.
Yes.
Things like clutter, and I'm talking about both physical and mental clutter.
Oh, there's plenty of that.
Fear,
Yep.
self-doubt, overthinking.
Yep.
We don't ever do that.
Never.
Insecurities, and anything else that holds us back from being our best selves and doing what God created us and called us to do.
Yes, all these other things are a distraction. So on the inspiration board you made, you also had a list called Plant Things That Matter. And on that list were things like inspiration, wisdom, vision, mission, creativity, gratitude, positivity, flexibility, goals, and nurturing relationships. I think the ones out of this list of the words, the ones that spoke to me most was the word mission.
Okay.
That is something that I'm always searching for. If I have a mission, even in a single day, if I have a mission for the day, that really helps me to focus and helps me to discard some of this distracting stuff that we talked about.
Okay.
So that word helps me formulate a plan for the year.
Okay. I like that.
Another word that grabbed a hold of me from that list was the word flexibility. As we embarked on our travels around the country in the RV, I think that was something we all had to learn. For me, I had to learn to be flexible in that I had to let go of the contacts, the network of people that I had built up in the Permian Basin and embrace the open road. I had to be able to say, you know what, we can take our moving house anywhere and God will still provide for us just the same as he did when we stayed close to the Permian Basin. So that took about 2 or 3 years for me to learn. For Emily, she is a planner.
Oh, yes.
And she has done that multiple times over the Christmas season where she's like, okay, so what are we going to do tomorrow?
What's the plan?
And what time are we going to... And it's like, no. Emily, stop. It's just an open day. It's okay. We're just going to chill. And so she had to learn flexibility on the road because she would ask us, so where are we going next? And then what are we going to do next Thursday? And we would be like, well...
No idea.
We don't know that. And if we tell you that we don't know what we're going to do next Thursday, that's not going to make you feel any better.
No. No, not at all. So it is really important when we're talking about blooming that the right things get planted together. I mean... You wouldn't plant weeds or grass alongside your flowers in your flower bed. They can choke out the flowers before they even have a chance to bloom. But when you have the right combination of things planted together, it can make a stunning display.
Yes. Something else you pointed out on your inspiration board was what you water grows. This one is really important because we want to only water the things that need to grow.
Absolutely. We want to water things like grace, patience, love, faith, healthy relationships, generosity, our talents. If we are giving our fears and doubts all the attention, then that's exactly what will grow.
Yeah.
But if we're nurturing the right things, we won't be able to stop the blooming.
So what are some practical things that we can do to make sure we are watering the right things this year?
Well, I know for me, and this might be a little bit different for everyone, but for me, number one is to start each day with prayer and time in God's Word. That's where I draw the most from. Another thing is our health, taking care of ourselves, both physical and mental.
Yes.
To eat good foods and get plenty of exercise and rest. I think sometimes rest is the little thing that gets left out, and that's really important. Those things make me feel better on the inside and the outside. And something else I'm going to try to do this year is journal. And I have done that in the past, and it really helps me. And I found an app on my phone. It popped up as a, suggested app for 2024. Yep. And it's called Gratitude. And it's basically a gratitude app. And every morning it asks me a question or has a prompt of some kind to journal about something that I'm grateful for or to think about something, in a little different way. And that's kind of really helped me kind of with that process, starting that in the morning, waking up and being grateful for something. That has helped set my mindset right in the right direction. So I'm going to try to keep that up through the year. Okay. And another thing, I really want to every day do at least one creative thing and one practical thing. Okay. And it doesn't matter what it is, just something.
Yes.
So how about you? Have you thought of some practical things you can do this year to live in full bloom?
Well, I really just want to move from an attitude of surviving to being a little more intentional and get to where I'm excited for each day. My friend Colton actually just preached a very good message to wrap up 2023. And the title of the sermon was, I'm Just Surviving.
Okay.
Because fitting. Yes. So he was saying how he's heard it and said it himself so many times through really just the tail end of 2023. I'm just surviving. Yeah. Which means that we are just doing what's necessary because that's really all the mental and emotional space that we have. So like you were talking about staying healthy physically and mentally. That has a lot to do with attitude. So I'm going to do my best to have a good attitude going into this year where I can go from just surviving, just getting the things that have to be done, maybe get a little bit ahead. One of the things for me, I do have from time to time, because I listen to different things, different podcasts, I watch different YouTube channels, and some of those have been a very good resource for me to have some good ideas to motivate me in particular areas. Every now and again, I'll hear something and I write it down on a Post-it note, and I stick it to the side of the computer screen that I stare at every day. But it doesn't really do anything more than that. Like after a while,
it's just a fixture. You don't
and I just take it off the screen and I throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
So I have some journaling books that you bought me probably, I don't know how many years ago now. Not 10 years ago, surely. But I do have some blank journaling books.
Okay, good.
And so what I've done, rather than trying to get like a perfectly written journal entry for each day.
Oh, my word.
I am just putting down those thoughts on a page for that day. And hopefully that will then...
So kind of like a brain dump or...
Yeah, more like a brain dump. I think probably the journal will develop into what it's supposed to be, which is an actual journal for each day. Yeah. But at least for now, that gives me a way into like writing those thoughts down.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
So for example, one of the thoughts that I heard is actually from a series of books, which I'm not sure that I would even endorse the books as a whole, but this was a really good thought. And it's this series of books is under the title The Poet's Apprentice.
Okay.
And it is from basically a school of philosophy. And the simple thought is that in times where we're not sure what's next, we need to adopt an attitude of being lonely but attentive. So if we're waiting in a lonely place, in other words, we're not too negative, but we're just alone with our thoughts, then we need to also be attentive, because things will come up. New people will come up in our lives, new contacts, new opportunities will arise. And if we're not attentive,
you'll miss them.
We'll miss them.
Yeah.
So that's just like one thought that I put down the other day. So a gentle introduction into the art of journaling.
Okay. I like that. I can't wait to see all the ways that our family blooms this year. I can't wait to see how, when we end 2024, how we look back on the year and yes, I can totally see that. It's exciting to me. So
yes.
And speaking of this year, what are our plans for this year?
Okay, so we've been talking about this over the last probably week or two, and I have been making steps down this road. When we first started our adventures on the road, we established a blog.
We did.
Which you did very
Most
regularly.
of it,
And we also established a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And for the last multiple years, it's had one entry, which was a video entitled Stuck in the Woods, which was drone shots of our rig as we were parked in the lady's driveway.
Oh, yes.
When we had to take the truck in to have the drive shaft replaced again.
That time.
Yes. And so it had the one video on there, which was like 2016, I want to say.
I think somewhere in there. Yeah.
Somewhere in there. And now it's 2024.
Yeah.
So we started discussing the fact that we had all of these adventures, which were in the blog, but nothing on YouTube.
Yeah.
And also we have the Beautiful View podcast, which also has a YouTube channel. We opened the YouTube channel because of the way podcasting is now working. In order to have our podcast on YouTube Music, we have to have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
So we have a channel there. So we have all of these avenues for showing content.
Right.
And very little content on them.
Right.
So we really want to be more intentional about that and produce some video content that we can put on those channels.
So I also know that we've talked about doing some additional repairs and maintenance on the RV. Well, of course, once the snow melts and all of that.
Once we get through the 0 degree weather we're about to have.
Yeah. So what kind of repairs are we needing to do on the RV this spring?
Well, we have the green book that we keep.
Oh, yes.
So our little green notebook that we put a list of all the things that need to be repaired. And so there are some things that we need to do maintenance-wise on the RV. There's definitely some repairs that have to happen to the slides.
Yeah. When we brought the slides in the last time, there was a big crunch.
There was a huge crunch.
Yeah. So we kind of figured out what that was. And thankfully, it's not a huge big deal, but it's going to mean, what is it, like a little PVC pipe or something that runs
so we're just
in
going
the
to
outside
replace some plumbing. There's some floor repairs to do on one of the slides, and the seals need to be done. So there's several things there, which are all, in my mind, opportunities to create content for the Our Moving House YouTube channel.
Right.
So no promises, but if you use YouTube regularly, then please go into our show notes and I will provide links for both of the YouTube channels there, and you can subscribe and see if we produce any content.
You can check up on us.
Keep us accountable.
Okay, so we also potentially have the opportunity to do the campground hosting thing again in the spring up at the state park. So
yes, at least for a couple of weeks.
Our understanding is that the couple that normally does it for the summer is not going to be there like right at the opening of the season.
Right.
So kind of like we finished out the year this last year when they left kind of the end of September and we finished out October.
Yep.
This would be the same, would be on the front end. So a few weeks of kind of moving into the RV up at the state park to camp host and just make sure everything runs smoothly for those first few weeks of the opening season. So that will be fun. We will definitely be ready to be back in the RV at that point.
Yeah, and it's a good way to sort of break in the RV and figure out what's
going to go wrong before we actually take it out.
While we're still close to home and we can easily repair stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I am also planning a trip to the Line of Totality for the solar eclipse in April.
Yes. Yeah, that's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We have done the solar eclipse before. We got ourselves into a place that was in the Line of Totality back in 2017. We went to the Agate Fossil Beds National Monument in Nebraska. We camped in the tent, which is kind of what we're going to be doing this time, right?
Yeah, because, so before we were at a campground in South Dakota.
Yes.
And we were there for several weeks.
Yes.
And we were about an hour and a half's drive from the Line of Totality, but I hadn't actually planned a spot there or tried to get a site in totality or anything like that.
You were aware of it, but it wasn't necessarily
my thought was, we can probably just drive there one day to make it a day trip. Well, then the more I started thinking about it, I was like, well,
we shouldn't miss it.
We can't miss it. I want the full experience.
Yeah,
so I thought, we carry tents with us all the time. So why don't we just load up the truck with our tent stuff?
Yeah.
And plan a little overnight tent camping trip. So I found a national wildlife area that was about, and I can't remember the name of it, but
about 30 minutes away.
It was about a 30-minute drive away from the perfect place to view the solar eclipse. So that's what we did. We set up camp and we brought our grill and we grilled. I think we maybe had hot dogs or something.
It was fun.
And we played cards and the kids and Daddy played cards. I read a book.
I don't think the dog had any clue what was going on.
Oh yeah, she was pretty confused. But we even at one point, I think we even put the solar eclipse glasses on her just to kind of get a picture and stuff.
Yeah.
But that was just the coolest opportunity, and I just really, really would love to experience that again. So
yes,
we're this year again. It's kind of snuck up on us, and of course,
not too bad this year. Though.
Yes, because every RV park that's open, because it's actually before most RV parks up in this area open, because it's the early part of April rather than in most places open April 15th. So anyway, but every RV park in that area that is open is already booked out.
Of course.
But there is a national forest, the Shawnee National Forest in southern Illinois that is right in the Line of Totality. And there are a ton of walk-up sites. There are a bunch of dispersed camping and stuff like that. So I think we'll be able to do kind of the same thing that we did before. Just kind of come in with our tents.
Yeah, plenty of room for a couple of tents.
Yes. Yeah. Come in with our tents, set up camp for a few nights or a couple of nights or whatever, and just experience it again. Now, this year it will be different because we are not homeschooling. So
yes,
sorry, but we will be pulling Tyler out of school for a couple of days to experience this again. So
it's an educational experience.
It is. And I actually found out he can actually earn some kind of a badge or something for Boy Scouts as well with all of the solar around the solar eclipse stuff. So, and it glows in the dark.
Wow.
Which is really cool.
Okay. Very good.
That may be way more cool to Mom than it is to him. But anyway.
Just go along with it, Tyler. Go along with it.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
And we are also making a trip to Texas this summer. So that little early trip out with the RV to do camp hosting is going to come in very handy.
Yes.
Because we're going to need to make sure that the RV is ready for a trip all the way down to Texas. My oldest daughter, Vicky, is getting married.
Yes.
And so obviously we are going to take the RV down there.
We are. And summer in Texas is never my favorite.
No, it's difficult in an RV.
It's so hot, especially in the RV. But we're going to make concessions for this occasion.
Yes,
because
we will.
It's a very special occasion.
Very important.
We are very excited for Vicky and Toby.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be towing the RV down there because we'll have both dogs with us.
Yes.
And that's just really the easiest way to do that.
The most practical, yeah.
Yeah. We'll likely leave Iowa a few weeks before we're supposed to be down there so that we can kind of take the scenic route and see some friends.
That'd be nice.
And take our time a little bit and not feel like rushed and all of those kinds of things. So,
yep. And Tyler has scout camp like right after the wedding. So like just a few days. So we're going to have to get back and get ready for him to go to scout camp.
He does. And I would kind of like to do what we did last year and take the RV to Backbone State Park, which is kind of near the scout camp. Mm-hmm. That was really nice
it's
last
a nice
summer.
Park.
It is a beautiful park. And it works out great because it gives me a beautiful place to work from during the week. Yep. And it also gives you the opportunity to kind of come and go from the scout camp and the RV, and you can still get some work done when you're at the RV, but you still can go help at scout camp. It's just the perfect combination.
Yes, and I will be pulling up my Google Maps with the pin that I dropped in just the perfect place to be able to get some internet access.
Go find some internet. Yeah, because the internet is not great there. I do remember that too.
That's the one negative, but other than that, it's really close to the camp and is just it's a beautiful place, very practical.
Yeah, that really worked out great. Other than that, we'll probably do some fairly local camping. I'm not really sure what else we're going to be doing this year. Tyler being in school, it really ties us down through the spring, fall, winter,
the whole year. Yep.
The majority of the year.
Yep.
And we let our 1,000 Trails camping pass expire because we wouldn't be getting our money's worth in the next few years. So that's out for this year. And if you're unfamiliar with 1,000 Trails, it basically is a membership, an annual membership that allows you to go camp in any of their campgrounds nationwide for up to 2 weeks at a time for free under your membership. So
yeah, it's very cost effective.
Yeah, so you get a lot of camping in there if you utilize it correctly. So, but obviously we're not going to be able to utilize that to its fullest potential over the next couple of years. So we let that go. But I do know that we are going to be doing our best to bloom where God has planted us for this season. We're going to pour ourselves into our family, into our business, this podcast, and our community.
For sure. We definitely have a few irons in the fire this year. The trick is to keep everything in balance so that no one thing is a drain. And
that is key. When we first moved here to Bellevue and bought the house and everything, we jumped into this community with both feet.
Yep.
To a lot of different things and all good things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All very good things. But the fact is our life looks a little different now.
A lot different, actually.
We've got a few more things going on. We've fallen right back into that bricks and sticks routine and lifestyle and
Tyler's
schedule.
In school. Yeah.
Yep. So all the things in our priorities have had to shift a little bit.
Yep.
So we're still navigating, finding balance in all of those things.
Yeah, it's all about our time management. And unfortunately that means we have to prioritize some things. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. It's a healthy exercise to go through. Yeah,
it is. It's been a few minor changes, but, we are truly committed to living life in full bloom in 2024.
There is no way to know what a new year holds, but there is comfort in knowing who holds our future.
That is for sure. We'll concentrate on what we can control and leave the rest in the very capable hands of the Lord.
Yes.
I love Psalm 23, and I think that's a good place to start for this year. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need.
He lets me rest in green meadows. He leads me beside peaceful streams. He renews my strength.
He guides me along right paths, bringing honor to his name.
Even when I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me.
Your rod and your staff protect and comfort me.
You prepare a feast for me in the presence of my enemies.
You honor me by anointing my head with oil. My cup overflows with blessings.
Surely your goodness and unfailing love will pursue me all the days of my life.
And I will live in the house of the Lord forever.
There is such great comfort, power, and encouragement in those words for our new year.
I look forward to this year. I can't wait to look back on our year and see all the ways we experienced growth as we kept our focus. I created a screensaver for my phone as a reminder of our word of the year, and I'll share that on our Facebook page for anyone else who wants to bloom with us this year.
Yes. Thank you for listening today. If you know of someone who would enjoy this podcast, please point them in our direction. Visit us at Beautiful View Podcast on Facebook or Instagram. Share our posts or share the link to our podcast.
In our next episode, we have an announcement for you. We're rich!
Yes.
But maybe not in the way that you're thinking. You'll have to just listen to find out more.
Thank you, Tyler and Kelsey, for providing the music for our show. Check out The Hopeful Few on Spotify or Apple Music. The links are in our show notes.
So we have started brainstorming for episodes for 2024, and we would love your input. So if you have any questions you would like us to answer or suggestions for things you would like us to talk about in those episodes, just simply email us at beautifulviewpod@gmail.com.
And just a reminder, please consider joining the Beautiful View Patreon channel. This helps us keep these episodes coming and cover our costs. Again, the link is in our show notes, and it's also on our social media accounts.
We hope you have a great day, and remember to always keep an eye open for opportunities in life to see a beautiful view.
We could climb a mighty mountain, float on down a winding river, travel back in time and face our future too. I'm not scared of where I'm going, 'cause I know whose hands I'm holding. Oh, I'd go anywhere as long as you're going too. And I'd go anywhere as long as I'm with you. Yeah, I'd go